Friday morning. And it is the 333. Very easy one to break down. If you guys haven't done this at your gym, give it a shot. See how these guys' times compare to yours. I did. It's pretty humbling on the run, and that's just a regular run, not on an air runner. But the way it breaks down, folks, for time, it's going to start with the guys on the rowers. 3,000 meter row to start. 300 double unders to follow, and then they will cap off that work with a 3-mile run on the assault air runner. Let's talk about who we got in this heat. Starting down in lane number 1, Colby Thompson. Lane number 2, Nick Matthew. Lane 3, Brian Wong. Lane number 4, Dre Strom. Lane number 5, Spencer Panchik. Lane number 6, Zach Sauter. Patrick O'Connell in lane number 7. James Lancaster in lane 8. Lane number 9, Austin Cahoy. Drew Wayman in lane number 10. Lane number 11, Luke Shaefer. Lane 12, Ryan Sauter. Lane number 13, Addison Bain. Josiah Nag, lane number 14. Lane number 15, Zach Watts. Lane number 16, Tony Spillane. Lane number 17, Connor Nellens. Lane number 18, Dex Hopkins. Lane number 19, Josh Woodhull. And lane number 20, rounding out this heat, heat number 1, Mike Wagner. Again, folks, if you are just joining us at home or just walking in the doors here, welcome to the 2018 Reebok CrossFit Games Central Regional. We are getting our first look at our individual competitors for this weekend. Day 1, Heat 1, Event 1 for the men. This is the 333. Again, folks, 49-minute time cap in place for these guys. Gonna head down the line, folks, and get you guys an idea of where our athletes are at now. Their monitors are counting down. I'm going to give you their remaining meters to go. Down in lane number 20, Wagner with 1777 to go. Woodhill also 1777. Dex Hopkins just under 1700. Connor Nellens at 1730. 1800 on the monitor for Tony Spillane. Zach Watts, 1660. Josiah Nag, right at 1600. Addison Bain, 1590. Ryan Souter, 16:30. Luke Shaefer, 15:80. Drew Wayman, 15:40. Ahoy, 15:45. Lancaster, also 15:40. O'Connell, 14:90. Souter, 14:90. Spencer Panchik, 14:90. Lane number 4, Trey Strom, 13:99. Wong at 14:15. Nick Matthew at 13:15. And Colby Thompson at 13:40. These guys all heading well past that halfway point. Coming up on 6 minutes and 30 seconds. Again, a 49-minute time cap in place. Not often that you see that length of a time cap in a regional event. But this is the kind of workout that needs a cap that large. Again, if you haven't done this one at home, folks, give it a whirl. Seven minutes and 30 seconds elapsed. The bulk of these guys keeping their split times right around between 145 and 155. I'm sure all capable of going much faster, but there's a whole lot of work left to be done. Shot of Dex Hopkins on the Jumbotron, 750 remaining for Dex. Down to lane number 2, Nick Matthew, 590 remaining. Dre Strom, 630. You can see the posture of the athletes changing slightly as they get towards the end of this. Hopkins, Dex in lane number 18 with 490 remaining. Hopkins just under 400 at the 9:10 mark. Nick Matthew down in lane number 2, 275. A large field of athletes, 20 guys in the heat to kick things off. The battle on opposite ends to get off that rower. A whole lot more action left to come. Hopkins under 200. 10 minutes in. Hopkins at 100. Hopkins about 75 meters to go. Nick Matthew looking to close up. Nick from Timberwolf CrossFit in lane number 2. A couple of more pulls, and Nick comes out of the straps and heads to the rope. And the same for Dex Hopkins. He is done on the rower. So your first 2 athletes heading to the double unders. Dex Hopkins down in lane number 18. Dex kind of unmistakable black shirt, lime green pants, hair pulled back nice and tight for today's work. Opposite end of the floor, Nick Matthew, blue shirt, black shorts. Both those guys the first to draw blood on the double unders. Hopkins out of CrossFit Maximus Nashland. $11:20 on the time clock. You see the floor broken up into 3, or broken up into separate positions there for the guys to move forward, to be able to better gauge where your favorite athletes are at. Hopkins advancing forward. All the guys clear of the rowers under the 12-minute mark. Solid mindset for all these guys, close quarters. Solid focus all down the line. Floor broken up into groups of 100. Coming about 13 minutes. A couple of guys moving into that final 100. Woodhull and Hopkins almost side by side, moving into the final 100 of their double unders. Addison Payne also on that final block, looking to close it out. Shaefer and Wayman also on their final 100. Thompson, Wong, and Strom also looking to finish it up. So that lead able to change hands at virtually any point in this event. Heading to the air runners side by side, lanes number 11 and 10, Sauter and Shaefer. The both getting that air runner moving at about the same time. Strom onto his run. Hopkins and Woodhull. And folks, you see the chess pieces being advanced. We know you guys can't see the monitors. Heck, I can't see the monitors either, and I'm standing right behind them. That'll give you guys an opportunity to track where your favorite athlete's at, or just track the action. Slendy making up some solid time in lane number 16. Burning through those double unders. Not even breaking rhythm, just moving forward. And now on to the air runner. 15:33 on the clock. All the guys done with their double unders and on to the assault air runners. .06 on our time clock, getting a 49-minute time cap. These guys moving through this pretty rapidly up to this point. These guys keeping it pretty tight all the way through. You see the bulk of our chess pieces advance to the 800-meter mark with the exception of Shaefer. Shaefer's moved past to the 1,200-meter mark. Shaefer the first to come out of the double unders and pulling in the lead. Shaefer, lane number 11, right in the center of the field of play, Luke Shaefer. CrossFit Kilo 2. $18:10 on the time clock. Wayman making it up. Got himself squarely in second. Shaefer 1. Wayman 2, looking to see who is going to round out our top 3 now that we are into the run portion of the triple 3. And it looks like it's going to be very close between Woodhull in lane number 19 and Addison Bain in lane number 13. Shaefer's chess piece advancing to the 1,600-meter mark. Passing 20 minutes and 20 seconds on our time clock. Wayman now advancing. Wayman across in Soto, lane number 10. Shirtless with the black shorts. Red hair, looking comfortable on the air runner. As comfortable as you can get neck deep in a 3-mile run. Bain and Woodhull still very close for third. Seems like they may have made up a little bit of time on our man in second place as we pass 21 minutes on the clock. Shaefer pushing past the 1-mile mark to the 2,000-meter mark. "22 minutes elapsed to get a 49-minute time cap in place for these fellas. A number of these guys not going to need that. One and two still clearly defined. Shaefer leading the way in lane number 11. Wayman right next to him. In second. That battle's been ongoing for third between Bain and Woodhull. Addison in lane number 13. And Bain a little more clearly in third. Woodhull still not far out of it in fourth. So 1 Shaefer, 2 Wayman, 3 Bain. Coming about 24 minutes in. Lancaster and Panchik both having their chess pieces advance as well. Keeping it very tight between Wayman and Shaefer. Wayman possibly making a move on Shaefer. Tony Splendey possibly making a move as well, pulling himself into contention for third place, along with Woodhull and Bain. Trey Strom putting himself in a front runner position as well. A long way in, but a long way to go and a lot of road to cover. A lot of things can happen. Very close between your two leaders, Wayman and Shaefer. Certainly at this point, it could literally come down to the last sprint to finish this up. Addison Bain's chest piece being advanced, as is Woodhull's. As is Dre Strong's. Magnus Plenty both being advanced as well. Josiah making up some ground as we get into the 2,400 meter area. Thompson and O'Connell advancing. Passing 28:30 on the time clock. Wayman now in the lead. Bain now advancing, and looks like Addison moving into second just ahead of Shaefer. Very close to him, so we could see a change of leadership here. The 1, 2, and 3 definitely getting shaken up. Wayman in the lead. Wayman 1, Bain 2, Shaefer 3. Now pulling even with the leaders. We are past 30 minutes. Thompson and O'Connell having their chase pieces advanced as well in lanes 1 and 7 respectively. Passing 31 minutes on our time, while getting a 49-minute time cap in place. See what kind of time these guys are going to be able to set for our next heat of competitors. Coming up, heat number 2, warming up in the back to take their shot at triple three. Rapidly approaching 33 minutes on our time clock. A number of our guys working on that 3,600 meter mark. $33.30. And Bain's piece being advanced towards the 4,000 meter mark. It looks like we have a new leader. Passing 35.30. Just to give you guys an idea of how everyone is knocking this out around the world, the event record was set in Europe last weekend at 35:25:02. So the world, or the event record holder, done at this point. Bain in the lead. Shaefer second. A little bit of separation starting to come here towards the end. $36:20 on the clock. Wayman moving himself forward as well. Woodhull and Wagner already there. Nag advancing. Spillane advancing. $36:45 elapsed. 333 underway. The final stretch in sight. Shaefer advancing his chest piece along with Woodhull at the red line, the 4,800 meter mark. Wayman now advancing, Bain advancing. This is gonna come down with a sprint at the end. You can see their body posture changing on the runner. Wagner down to the last home stretch as we hit 38 minutes on the time clock. One of these gentlemen will set the time to beat. And it looks like it's a foot race. Shaefer gets hung up. And it is gonna be Wayman crossing the line at 38:11. Shaefer just behind him. What a race for those guys. $49-minute time cap in place. We're coming up on the 10-minute warning. Two athletes flying through the 333, finishing well under that time cap. The fight now for third place. Bain, Nag, Woodhull departs the air runner. And Woodhull wraps it up under the 40-minute mark with 39:39. Addison Bain will close down his first event here at the Central Regional, around 39:39. The fight now to stay in the top 10 in this heat, and Wagner closes it out just past the 40-minute mark. Josiah Nag will finish up right around 40:32. A six-pack of athletes on the final stretch. He's flying out of the air runner, and he will tip his chest piece, finishing up right around 41.15. Making his way down, Kobe Thompson finishing up. And just a few lanes away, Dre Strom finishing up strong, right around 41.44. Out of lane number 7, O'Connell finishing up. At your top 10, O'Connell, Strom, Thompson, Splaney, Zianak, Wagner, Bain, Woodhull, Shaefer, and Wayman taking the heat. Nick Matthew wrapping it up in lane number 2. Out of lane number 8, Lancaster, Sauer finishing up. The fellas digging deep, looking to finish up the rest of the field. Time on the clock. Coming up on 43 minutes. Nellen sprinting to the finish line. Connor will close it out right at 43.02. 43.03 for Connor Nellens. Zach Sauter finishing up. Ryan Wong closing it down. Cahoy making his way. Cahoy will finish up right around 43.39. Panchik closing it out, 43.43. Hopkins and Watts looking to put event 1 to bed. 44 minutes elapsed on the clock. Get a 49-minute time cap in place, 5 minutes remaining. Both these gentlemen in the home stretch of this run, not gonna need it. Here comes the recognizable Dex Hopkins. And Dex will close it out right around 44.35. Zach Watts next up to finish up from Fort Wright CrossFit. Triple 3, a brutal workout. If you haven't done it before, folks, I highly recommend it. It was humbling on my end for sure. These guys looking like pros that they are out here crushing this event. 45 watts departs the air runner. Ladies and gentlemen, big round of applause for all your athletes. Mr. Watts will finish up right around 45:54. Great job, fellas. Make sure you sign those scorecards. Grab all the gear that you brought out with you. We'll get you guys to exit the floor.
And we will have a field of 20 here in heat number 2. Of course, Matt Fraser will be in lane number 10. A few other people to keep an eye on. I would always like to say Saxon Panchik, somebody that came on hot last year. He'll be in lane number 3. His older brother Scott Panchik will be in lane 12. Defending regional champ Paul Castillo, lane 14. And we are underway with triple threes. 49-minute time cap. Nobody met that time cap in heat number 1.
Brandon, what I expect to see here out of the gate is a nice, steady, controlled pace. A lot of times when you'll see a long row or some burst of a row in the beginning of a workout, you can only lose it at that stage of the game. You can come out too hard, too fast, and then never recover. So I'm looking at Matt Fraser here, and he just looks very controlled and steady, and I expect to see a lot of that over the next 10 minutes. You see the looks on the faces of the athletes going across, and this is going to be the key here, is just to hold a nice, steady tempo and not be reckless.
Now this, of course, the first part, but as this event progresses, what are you looking for somebody to perhaps take this event win?
Event win, what we're going to expect to see is a 10.5 minute or less row. So we're looking at a 1:45 split. If you've ever been on Concept 2, you kind of know what that pace feels like. And then the double unders, that's just for these guys at this level of the game, that's going to be some active recovery to just try to flush everything out before you get onto that assault air runner. The assault air runner, whoever has the best legs and lungs is going to win this thing.
So about 90 seconds into this very, very long event. We're not seeing anybody go at too quick of a pace here on the row, of course. Now, when we're talking about our pacing here, let's say, for instance, that somebody's got maybe a 2-minute pace for a 500-meter row. So you're looking at that would be about 12 minutes. What would you say that's a PR pace? What kind of pace would that person have in an event like this?
I would slow it down, even maybe 15 seconds on the 500-meter split, so that you need to be able to relax and control the tempo from start to finish. And what we've seen is, like, these athletes are so composed. You look across the sea of faces, and nobody's stressing at this point. And really, that's exactly what you're looking for. You don't want to, you're not going to win here. This is not where you're going to come out of the gate so hot and take this event.
Now, the time that they're chasing is 38 minutes and 10 seconds. That's set in heat number 1 by Drew Wayman, who's with Mike Arsenault.
Drew, this is one way to start your CrossFit regional career. Your first appearance at a regional and a Heat 1 victory. Your time of 38:11, first place so far with Heat 2 on right now. How does it feel to get a Heat win in your first performance at regionals?
It's pretty cool. I put a lot of time into this one. I knew it would be good for me, so I really wanted to come out with a good start. Feels pretty good.
And what's kind of your mindset coming into your first regional? What's your expectation on where you should be on the leaderboard at the end of the 3 days?
You know, honestly, I'm here to learn this year. I'm going to leave it all out on the floor, but I'm just here to pick up some tips and figure out how it goes for next year, really.
Thanks, Drew. We'll see you in event number 2. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
So the student out of the University of Cincinnati leading the way by just about 3 seconds quicker than Luke Shaefer, as they had a nice sprint down the floor. You had to go back another minute to 39:20. Josh Woodhull's time that took third. Should be about a third of the way through the row based on what we saw in heat number 1. And all the attention, of course, is on Matt Fraser. And you kind of figure, hey, this is the favorite. But last year we had favorites in mind. One person that was not mentioned was this man, Paul Castillo. He only won the Central Regional last year after a tie in the point standings with Street Horner, give the tiebreak in the title to this man.
Well, Castillo, unbelievable showing last year. I mean, it's so incredible when somebody comes out of the woodwork like that and just pops up onto the scene and blows everyone away and all their expectations. So really great showing by Paul.
Now, he didn't have a top half finish when it came to the point standings at the games 1 year ago, but he did say this year he's over that hump of just get there and enjoy it and to get that learning experience. This year his goal isn't just to get back, it's to finish in the top 10 at the games when we get back to Madison.
Lofty goal for sure, but I love somebody who sets that goal and then works throughout the season to finish off.
Now, Castillo wants a top 10. Somebody that's never finished outside of the top 10 and never finished outside of the top 6 at the games is this man, Mr. Consistency himself, 6-time games competitor Scott Panchik.
Well, Brandon, you said it. Mr. Consistency is right. This guy he is always near the top. And I know from talking to Scott year after year, he wants to be on that podium as bad as anybody out there on the field. So look for him to put up a great weekend here and then to set himself up for the games.
Now, he's one of 3 Panchiks here this weekend, one of 2 in this heat alone, as 21-year-old Saxon Panchik, the middle brother of the 3. He's 21 and already making his 4th regional appearance, backing up 7th place 1 year ago, including an event win in Event 5.
Well, clearly they're doing something right in that household. And I'm one of 4 boys, Brandon, and it was always fun for me to compete with and on the same field as my brother. So I'm sure these guys are having a blast getting ready for and competing here at regionals.
Panchik just a couple spots away 1 year ago. And we were asking about that pacing. We were kind of talking about that as we started. Here's a good look at the monitor for Matt Fraser.
And if we're looking at a minute 45, minute 48 split, what that's going to land us is a 7-minute 2K, a 10.5-minute 3K, and that's assuming that we can maintain that split. And the truth is that with these athletes and their level of ability and how well they know themselves and how aware they are of their own ability, they can lock into a pace and continue that same cadence over and over and over. And they know exactly when to start pushing.
Now, when we're looking at this monitor, yes, a lot of the people watching do CrossFit know what the rower is and what that monitor looks like. What are we looking at when it comes to the screen, though?
Well, as the camera's great, it zooms right in here. We can see we're looking at the top number is meters clicking down, so we're watching that count down from 3,000 down. The middle number is our split. Every stroke, this thing is like a lie detector test. It tells you every stroke how hard you're pulling. So he's right now pulling at a 147 for 500 meters. It's going to take a minute 47 to do 500 meters. And then the number below that, that is his elapsed time, 6:52, 6:53. And finally, bottom left, you can see really efficient, powerful, slower strokes, 25 strokes per minute. So he's not breaking the bank trying to sprint. This is a nice, steady pace for him.
Fraser entering the final 1,000 meters. Look one lane over, and they're next to each other because they're each region champions coming out of the Open. Street Horner, second place by a tiebreaker at this regional 1 year ago, but he has a world of momentum coming into this season. Very successful in the off-season events.
Street Horner, one of these guys, 23 years old, so young, and yet he's got so much experience and momentum, like you said, Brandon. I expect to see great things out of him all weekend long.
And there's been a theme thus far today. On the team side, you have 2 kilo teams, second and third. Last heat, Luke Shaefer out of CrossFit Kilo 2 took second. Here's Street Horner out of CrossFit Kilo 2.
Clearly they're doing something right there.
He looks way too calm right now. That's all I keep thinking as we watch him. We should have about 2.5, 3 minutes till we start seeing athletes make their way off the rower and towards the double unders. And we've spoken about Saxon Panchik, a young athlete, Street Horner, a young athlete. How about 18-year-old George Sterner, who was 9th last year as a 17-year-old? He's fresh out of high school at this point.
It doesn't even make any sense to me. He doesn't, I mean, he's not even at the point where he's grown into the body that he's going to have down the road. He's still a kid, and he's out here just putting on a show. Good for him.
Now, that said that he's looking for his first games appearance, that in the open division. He has been there in the teenager division, second place in 2016 in the 16-17 division. Not bad for an 18-year-old to say you're the fittest man in Wisconsin through the open this year. So in heat number 1, it was about 10 minutes and 40 seconds when we saw our lead athletes their way off the rower. Neither of them saw a tremendous finish overall, as they were down to about maybe that bottom 8 as that heat played out. So look at the different cadences. It looks like everybody's kind of settling in for that same one, though.
Everybody looks like they've got about the same pull. I'm watching Matt Fraser, and you can see how he droops his arms and lets them completely relax. He pulls the handle into the belly, and then the hands go down. Just relaxes the shoulders, relax the grip, allow your arms to kind of regain their composure before you get that next strong pull. And this is a conservation tactic right here. We're just trying to keep that upper body fresh.
First athlete within the final couple 100 meters looks to be Zachary Bunt out of CrossFit T-Town. There's a look at him. And lane number 6, T-Town, a team that's had some team success when it comes to the games. They have had a former games athlete as well with Justin Allen a few years ago, but trying to carry on that T-Town tradition here at the Central Regional is Bunt.
Well, you can see he must be getting close to the end here because his pace is picked up quite a bit. He's got higher strokes per minute than you can see on left or right. So, and there he is. He's right at the very end.
He was here a year ago on the team for CrossFit T-Town that finished 9th, and he'll be holding that number 1 spot coming off the rower. It hasn't been a great position for anybody, at least, especially here, but we'll see if the story changes, and look out behind you because here comes the fittest man on earth 2 years in a row, Matt Fraser. If you're going to go off the update show, Thanos is coming, and he's in 2nd place off the rower, getting to the double unders, and we've got a swarm of athletes getting onto that jump rope about at the exact same time.
All about 30 seconds behind our leader, and that's what we expected to see. Nobody trying to make or break it on that first exercise.
Every 75 reps, they will advance 1 spot on the floor forward. That'll give you a visual representation of where the lead is taking place. Now, 300 double unders. Of course, we saw 800 in the open on 18.3, but we didn't see them all in chunks this size. So how would you navigate this portion of the event?
You've got a couple different schools of thought. One is that you go until you miss. And if you miss, you just try to immediately forget that happened and go right back into your next set. The other thing that I tend to do is to break them up intentionally. And you can see Matt set his rope down, move forward, and it just, even if it's that 2-second break, it gives you an opportunity to kind of shake off one set and get started onto your next set.
Well, you did mention that, breaking it up intentionally by that choice of, all right, I'm going to go here, I'm going to go here. They do have to advance forward, but there's a couple different strategies they can still take to get there.
You can move forward as you're going through your 75 and then move into your next box for your next 75. You can continue to jump rope, but as you advance forward, those reps aren't counting until you're inside that next box. So I think Matt chose to set the rope down, take a deliberate step forward, and then immediately start up his next set.
Now, on the team side, we saw them each doing 150. That you saw a lot more athletes have that aggressive strategy of, all right, let's move forward while we're jumping. Is that something that is reasonable here with the individuals at double the amount?
Again, I don't think that this event is won or lost because there's so much time yet to come on the treadmill itself. So at this point, you're just thinking about getting out of these 300 reps that you can get on the treadmill. Even if you don't get on the treadmill first, it's not important. You have a nice pace once you get there.
No rep there for Fraser. That probably caught him by surprise even. I'm guessing one of his feet went behind that line. So he was kind of flirting with the back of that box. Either way, carrying it on. I do want to correct myself. It's every 100 reps they move forward, not every 75 reps. As we're in the final 100 for the early leader, Zachary Bunt.
13.5 minutes in.
He is on to the runner at 13.5 minutes, about 40 seconds quicker than our top athletes in heat number 1. In fact, he's actually quicker than the event record pace to this point. Of course, the meat of the work is in this near 5K run, 3 miles on the assault runner. And Matt Fraser in the number 2 spot at 13:49, only about 19 seconds back. And in lane number 1 will have Joseph Totora all the way on the very top of the screen in the red shorts. He'll be the 3rd athlete. Starting to see a few more of the notable names as well that we've seen in the games or in contention for game spots. George Sterner, the green shirt, is up there. Alex Anderson on the near side of the screen. Here comes the defending regional champion Paul Castillo as well. Got a pack mentality in this event here in heat number 2.
Everybody's staying together.
Beard is strong with Joseph Totora, somebody that actually started training in his school gym on .com workouts in 2012. It took him a couple of years until he found a gym to actually start going to, an actual affiliate.
He's got an interesting running style with the shoulders and the arms down, slung really, really low, trying to keep everything really relaxed up top.
This could be a good year for Joseph Totora. It's his 3rd individual appearance. He has been a team competitor at the games before with CrossFit Grandview. 31st in 2014 as an individual, 11th last year, but this is the first time he finished in the top 100 worldwide in the Open. His previous best was 143. This year, 55th in the world.
That's exactly what you're trying to see and measure is yourself year after year. You know, winning a class workout, it doesn't really mean a whole lot. What I'm most interested in as a coach is to see the way somebody develops over time against themselves.
Now you'll notice on the screen all those chess pieces, everybody pretty much in that same spot. Those will be advanced by a judge every time they complete a quarter mile.
Actually, smile for the camera. Picture? Yeah.
Now, as everybody's starting on this 3-mile run, we got somebody that's very familiar with running, but typically on Sundays with a special guest, we go to Mike Arsenault.
Brandon, we're spending the next 3 days to find the fittest person in the Central region. On the first day, I found the fittest person out of the spectators, I think. I'm joined by Justin Forsett, former Baltimore Ravens running back. And what brings you to the Central Regional?
Man, I love watching CrossFit, man. I go to a local box in my city back in Dallas, and my wife is a coach, so it's kind of part of me now.
Now, most people think you got into CrossFit once you retired from football, but that's not the case. When did you start dabbling in the sport of fitness?
No, I dabbled back in 2012. My quarterback, Matt Hasselback, was involved in it. He said I should check it out. I checked it out. I loved it. Any workout that makes you question life is pretty much good for me, so I fit right into it.
And Linda made you question your life. I had Justin do this a couple days ago. We'll get into that once we have Linda coming up later this afternoon. But how closely or what type of moves did you incorporate in your football training from the realm of CrossFit?
Man, from my position, I was a running back, so I had to be explosive. I had to be quick. So being able to do some dynamic workouts, constantly varied movements, it just mesh well with the game because I'm always constantly moving. I'm constantly in different positions, and at my position, I can't get tired. So, like I said, CrossFit and football mesh well for me.
Now, you're not just here as a fan watching this weekend. You have a horse in the race, Saxon Panchik. What's your relationship with him?
Yeah, Saxon, I mean, I started a company, Shaefer. It's an active care company, and he's one of our athletes that we're repping today. So we're going Saxon today, hopefully all weekend, so he can make it to the CrossFit Games. So we're pushing for him.
Thanks, Justin. We'll talk to you soon.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Justin. And that's not a bad person to have in a stable to be pulling for there. The stock definitely rising for Saxon, and it's also an interesting correlation. We're starting to see more football players, not just after their playing days, get into it. We've seen a lot of linemen specifically kind of getting back into shape or more healthy, movable shape at that point after their career. But we're starting to see a lot of running backs and skill position players get into it during their career as well.
And to be totally honest, I don't understand why not. It blends perfectly the disciplines of CrossFit and football together. It's long time domains, short time domains, constantly moving, lifting weights, getting good at gymnastics. All of that stuff is only going to make you a better athlete on Sunday when you play football. So I just don't see any reason why any of those athletes need to be 100% sport specific all the time.
Now, in 2014, we really started seeing that kind of trend where it was like running backs like Noshawn Moreno starting to make a name by doing CrossFit in their training. In 2014, we also saw this event, triple threes at the games, and we've seen a big difference through the first week or so when it comes to the top times, because our event record here is 35:25. The fastest time at triple three in the heat in California, 33:04. What is creating that difference from that stimulus to this one?
Honestly, Brandon, the difference, and we can isolate that, is the assault runner. It really makes this running event so much harder and more taxing on the hamstrings. It's way more fatiguing than running outside, and I think it messes up your cadence. If you slow down a little bit, it messes up your cadence. It just makes this event at least a minute or two or even 3 minutes longer just based on the run alone.
Now, in 2014, this was the third event. This one, the first event here. How is this going to be a factor going forward in the competition, not just today even?
I think hamstrings are going to be a little tender tomorrow, but again, most of these guys, with the volume they tend to put in, the amount of training workouts that they put in on a weekly and monthly basis, this really shouldn't have a devastating effect for anybody. And I would think that a workout where they're doing tons of pulling, deadlifting, cleans, that might have a lasting effect. This, calves and hamstrings, a little tender tomorrow.
Now we've cleared the 20-minute mark, so for most of the field, we should be about halfway through the time it will take to get through this event. As we saw everybody in under the 46-minute mark in heat number 1, but we saw a handful under the 40-minute mark. One thing I'm curious about, a lot of people have walked, run a 5K where you're outside, you can see where everybody is around you. What is this like mentally if you're doing this kind of distance when you're not able to move and the only information you have is where chess pieces are? And for example, right now, all those chess pieces are pretty much in line with each other, so you really have no information.
I think most of these guys are probably pretty familiar with the assault runner at this point. They know what their pace is, and there's not a lot that you can do about that. I mean, you might be able to push a little bit harder maybe in the last minute or two, but if you push too early, you'll blow yourself out. So looking down the field to see where other people's chess pieces are, it's not really going to impact your own pacing.
Now, typically when we get an event like this, you'll think some of the lighter guys, some of the guys that have a more triathlon background or a running background, you don't think guys like Alex Anderson at 5'10", 205, but in 2015 when we had the event Murph, he finished 8th, so he's shown the capacity to have some distance and what some people might think would be a damage control event for somebody his size.
It's amazing to see somebody at, in the CrossFit world, 205 is on the larger side for some of our guys. Somebody that can move his body through space and run like that and carry himself over these distances with the way a 170 or 180 pounder could. So really, really impressive.
Now going forward today with Alex Anderson, if he has a good event here, how dangerous does that make him in event number 2?
Oh, it's going to make it even. You got to imagine that a guy like him, built the way he is, he loves a workout, an event like Linda. For him, bench, squat, bench, dead, and squat cleans, as it should be, it should play into all of his strengths.
Now you'll notice about 15 of those chess pieces are all in the same spot on the floor. One man that has separated himself from the pack is the former football player and wrestler Zachary Bunt, who grabbed the lead right out of the gate, and he has held on to it for the past 22 minutes. It is a near 2-minute interval for him over second place. This is an event where there's going to be a lot of suffering, a lot of mentality to it. Not a bad background with football and wrestling.
It's great when you've got an event like this where it allows the athlete to get in their own head. It's one of those things that it's so easy to have yourself a little pity party while you're out there, and you're 23 minutes into this and you're on the treadmill and it just doesn't seem like the numbers are ticking away fast enough. It's so easy to let yourself get down, and you need to be able to prop yourself back up.
The next spot on the floor will put Bunton, the leader, past the mile-and-a-half mark, 2,400 meters. So he'll be halfway through this 3-mile portion of the event. crowd. This is amazing to me how packed this place is on a Friday. Typically you'll see a decent crowd on a Friday, but you don't see it like this, and that's the effect that the Central Regional can have.
Very impressive to me. This is the first time for me at the Central Regional. I've been to the East Regional several times, but for me on a Friday, this is not the norm.
Sold so many tickets last year, and it was so crowded in here that they changed the layout so we can about double the space for the attendance. And we're expecting a sellout here this weekend. And now moving into second place, he was the third man to the runner, but he's starting to make some moves, and that's Joseph Totora.
Yeah, it looks really comfortable. I mean, it just does not look like he's putting himself out at all. Running style hasn't changed at all since the first couple minutes.
That's somebody that could be very dangerous. Games profile listed 5K time, 19 minutes, 33 seconds. And not a bad cheering crowd there for Totora as you see his own cutout photo. Not sure what we really want to label those, but he's got his own cutout fans there cheering for him. And he's in a good spot right next to the rail with all his fans.
Well, we're in a landscape now. We're in the CrossFit culture where the beard is taken over, it seems like, and that guy's beard is legendary.
Taking a look across the floor. Not quite the yard sale on the ground in front of these runners like we saw in heat number 1, where all the clothes basically went off when they got to the assault runner.
There we go. We got a nice tight beard. We got the little scruffy beard. And if you look down, oh my goodness, look at that thing. That thing is a monster.
Matt Fraser might be the favorite for the regional champion, but the beard regional champion, if it's not Dex Hopkins, it might be Joseph Totora. Thankfully, we're on a stationary runner, so he doesn't have to worry about the aerodynamics. Lead continues to be held by Zachary Bunt. As in second place, tell you what name is starting to move into the picture, and that's Alex Anderson. You saw that chest piece move just in front of Joseph Totora, so Alex Anderson might find himself in second, and we're starting to see the effect of these 3 miles on some of the athletes.
Well, Brandon, earlier today, you and I were discussing whether or not we would see anybody walk, because in 2014, as we know, Rich Froning had to walk during this event. But what we're seeing here is the effects of being on that treadmill for this long. And our athlete, Brady Greer, taking his time and doing about a minute walk.
Greer here 1 year ago, 29th place finish at regionals. And he's a 2-time fittest male teacher in the Open, winning it last year, winning it this year, as he's currently a high school special needs assistant teacher. So definitely doing a lot of good work in his community and representing himself well as well at regionals. Second place athlete, Alex Anderson, and it's 2 guys that are over 200 pounds leading the way, but he looks to be showing some signs of discomfort.
And we've all done that where we've been out on a long run and you get that crazy stitch in your side, and it's everything you can do to try to breathe through it. You can see the look on his face. He is really uncomfortable.
At this point, he'll have about a mile or so to go, a little bit over a mile. That's a long way to go if you're starting to feel the effects with less than 2 miles into this 3-mile run. So here's a look at the assault runner monitor. We saw the row monitor earlier. What are we looking at here?
So again, we're looking at the very top, 14:39, 14:40. That's the elapsed time. We can see the calories as well. And that leftmost box, second, third down, we can see 1.29 miles. So you get a really good sense of what your output is while you're on the assault runner. So you can see this, like the rower, it's like a lie detector test. You take your foot off the throttle for even 2 seconds, and that screen tells you all about it.
That screen also telling us how hard they're working, as it is pretty much completely covered in sweat at this point as the athletes make their way through this 3-mile run. It's counting down, so we've got about 2,000 meters, a mile and a quarter remaining for our leader, as as Bunt continuing to lead, but there's a few of those chess pieces that are starting to creep a little bit closer. You'll see Anderson's on the very near side of those that are one away from Bunt's. Totora still hanging in there. I believe I see Matt Fraser's in there as well. It's a long event, and similar to what we saw in the first team event, just because you get out in front early doesn't mean you're going to hold on to that lead.
There's just so much more time that elapses throughout the the last little bit of this workout, where you can chip through your 300 double unders, but you still have way over 50% left in the event itself.
Approaching the 30-minute mark as Matt Fraser, it was a couple of years ago where Sean Woodland threw out the question, what can't this guy do? And running was the one thing that people would look at and say, all right, maybe that's the weakness, similar to Rich Froning. He corrected that very, very quickly.
He sure did. And again, he's such a good athlete, and I think he's able to pick himself apart and then coach himself to a point where he fixes any flaw. So, and he is going to attack every weakness so that it is no longer a weakness. And I think that's one of the things that makes him most special.
Fraser in a group trying to chase down this man, Zachary Bunt, the fittest man in Oklahoma in the 2018 Open, who has virtually gone wire to wire over the first half hour of this event. About 5 minutes away from the event record set in Europe 1 week ago by Sigurdur Þrösturson, 35:25. Remember that time to beat, of course, Drew Wayman in heat number 1, 38 minutes, 10.76 seconds. Chess piece moving forward past the 3,600 meter mark, so we're starting to close in. It's 4,800 meters is what they're going for, 3 miles. But there are a lot of chess pieces that are getting closer and closer to Bunt. This might get interesting here in the last couple minutes.
It'll be interesting to see if anybody has enough gas left in the tank to really start to push a pace, because it's been very steady to this point. Everybody's fallen into a nice groove. In order for when you're 30 minutes into the event here, trying to push and adding another 10 or 15% to your pace, it's going to take a huge effort.
Now mentally, we spoke about that you don't have that clear visual of where the field is, and of course if you're leading you have to turn around, you don't quite have that great of a visual, but when you're seeing those chess pieces get closer and closer, you're kind of still at a guessing game. But what does that do to you mentally if you're out front and you start seeing everybody else kind of closing in on you there?
I think it starts to create maybe that seed of doubt, like, can I keep this pace? Can I maintain my momentum, or is Fraser going to start to make a move? Is somebody else going to start to chip their way forward? And I think you need to put the blinders on, because it's most important that you work at your pace the best you can do, because unless it's down into the last 20, 30, 45 seconds, because if you try to push too early, it'll fall apart.
And you saw a moment ago, Joseph Totora actually level in terms of those chess pieces, probably about 200 meters, the difference between he and Bunt. Paul Castillo, another athlete that's got a triathlon background, he did a couple of them leading up to the games last year, part of his endurance training, starting to make his way into the picture as well. And still out in front, working towards meter number 4,000. Still have a half mile remaining. It's a long event to be trying to go wire to wire. Somebody that has done this event before when it comes to games history, 2014, Scott Panchik. He was the 18th place finisher on the men's side at 35:26. That time would actually get you right around the event record in this one, but so not expecting that time, but Panchik kind of slow and steady here in this opening event.
Considering that he's 33.5 minutes in, this looks pretty comfortable.
Final half mile for the leader, Zachary Bunt. You'll notice his chest piece right above that top blue lane. There is about 10 of those other chest pieces, one spot over, so within about 400 meters. The man closest to him, Joseph Totora, he has inched within 400 meters as that chest piece has moved level a couple of times now. This is where you got to play the guessing game, because that 400 meter, you're in the same spot. It could be 399 meters away. It could be 1 meter away.
If he can keep this field off of his heels from start to finish, what an impressive victory for him.
I don't know how many athletes there are in the world that can pull that off in their region. And we're sitting here looking at 40 qualifiers in what might be the toughest regional to qualify into. And Zachary Bunt might be going coast to coast on this one. 25 seconds until the event record. Don't see a hand up, so it doesn't appear that that will fall. But either way, 100 important points. If he can finish this in the next 3 minutes, 38:10 the time to beat. It's really the first time we're starting to see him show a little bit of some sign of fatigue, but he still looks pretty calm for basically doing a 5K after a whole lot of work before it.
That's just good cardiorespiratory endurance right there. One of the key ingredients to a good CrossFitter.
Plenty of athletes just shy of that final quarter mile. There's only one more spot on the floor for that chest piece to move. That'll indicate the last 400 meters. It's interesting that we've got about the top 10 all in one 400-meter section. The next 10 are all in the one right behind it. And Joseph Totora is making a charge. You can see these strides picking up in pace. And we mentioned it earlier, a 19.5-minute 5K. He might be putting that experience to very good use, making a charge late.
Well, if you can run a 19-minute 5K, that is a blistering pace at a guy his size. So he might have enough in the gas tank right here to push really hard and take that event win.
Lane 1 is the leader, Joseph Totora, red shorts. On the right side of the screen, on runner number 6 is Zachary Bunt, who's starting to labor a little bit. As you can see, his stride getting smaller and smaller. Matt Fraser, Alex Anderson off camera. They've moved into the final quarter mile as well, but Joseph Totora continuing to pick up the pace. Totora a year ago, I remember him a couple of times competing in Star Wars gear. None of that this year. Still kept the impressive beard. The force might be strong with this one here in the opening event. Best career finish coming into this was 7th. He's got about 30 seconds to possibly get his first top 5, possibly making that his first event win. Again, 38 minutes, 10 seconds, the time to beat, 38:13, the second quickest. Judge's hand is up, so we're near the end. It's not easy to get across the floor. We saw that cost Luke Shaefer the event win as he stumbled off it. What could have been a foot race with Wayman. And Drew Wayman is actually going to hold on to the event win. Second place is going to stand. Joseph Totora's got to get across the floor just in case anybody else is close. And he sees that he's in the clear. He'll take the heat. It'll be good for 3rd in the event to start the weekend. First career top 5 for Joseph Totora.
Oh, he looks terrific.
That's about the effort that you want to see to start the week. Now, who will be the second athlete to break away? We've got 8 athletes all in their final quarter mile. And it's going to be Alex Anderson, second place in the heat, 38:45. The big man doing well here in this one. Now we got a foot race between a couple of athletes sprinting down the floor. It's going to be Creed in third and Castillo, the defending regional champion, in fourth. Street Horner, the man that tied him in the point standings 1 year ago, in fifth. Here comes Matt Fraser in at about 39 minutes and 22 seconds. And the streak for him looks to be staying alive. The last time he's finished outside of the top 10 was in 2013 at a regional event. Saw Nick Durankar make his way across. George Sterner crossing at 39:39. Too young to look like that, George. You're gonna recover quick. It's okay. And we noticed about a half mile ago that Zachary Bunt was starting to labor, and it looks like he fell way behind from where he was. This is gonna be 9th in the heat, and the leader for about 35 minutes of this event will finish at 40:06. Wasn't a bad strategy though, because it was paying off. Just kind of caught up with him at the end.
Yeah, just 2 or 3 minutes left, and obviously ran out of gas, just didn't have that last little bit to push.
There's a sea of empty runners, about 6 right there in the middle of the screen a moment ago. One of the people that's still on him was Scott Panchik, which this is going to be interesting. We got a foot race. Give the edge to Nick Block. Lesson to everybody. Try, and I know it's hard after all this, but run to the line every time. You never want to lose a spot. You saw how important it was at the games last year, where the run, swim, run event, one position early on could make a huge difference in the end. Dylan Martin, next finisher. He'll be in the 12th position in the heat. Oh, hello. That's plenty of effort there for Harold Fisher, as Shane McBride has crossed the line. Kevin Schwartz, and wow, still. This is that's some tenacity right there. Has yet to break his stride at this point.
Just a savage move.
This makes sense. 21 years old, he spent 14 years of his life as a wrestler. So that's the mindset you expect.
He's been here before.
Lane number 2, Darwin Perez, somebody that made a name for himself in the open. And how often do you see this from Scott Panchik, struggling to get across the line? Wow, that's a rare sight.
Looks like Scott is questioning his life choices right there.
Scott Panchik, a man that's finished in the top 10, about 70%, excuse me, 80% of his regional events. He'll be well outside the top 10 here. Harold Fisher, I'm impressed by that effort.
Good for him.
I'm also hoping they spend a lot of time cleaning that runner. So we've got about a couple athletes remaining. Lane number 18, we've got Alan Joyner, and in lane number 20, we've got Brady Greer. So 6 minutes until the time cap. 18 of the 20 already in the books. Joyner within the last half mile.
All right, let's put barbell.
I believe that's the last quarter mile for Greer. Greer on runner number 20, Joyner on 18. They're going to be on here for about another 2 to 3 minutes at this point, as they're about 600 meters out. Now, earlier we were talking about how difficult it is if you're in the lead and you're kind of playing that guessing game. Now we're seeing the flip side of this, where you're one of 2 athletes left on the floor. You've seen nobody finish within the past minute, so you know you're kind of well behind here in this heat. What is that doing to you mentally if you're trying to finish an event like this one especially?
Honestly, I've been in this position before at the games in 2010, where you know you're the last guy on the floor and you know things aren't going all that well. You just have to gut it out, and you have to kind of ignore the fact that everyone else is finished. And in CrossFit, we know the guy who finishes last oftentimes gets the loudest cheers, and you can see the athletes down at the other end. They're ready to support these guys. And you can see that this is exactly what we're talking about. The community, they're already figuring out what they did and maybe what they could have done differently. But you can see the Panchiks there, they're already supporting one another. Classic CrossFit.
Yeah. 4 minutes until the time cap. Starting to see a couple of the athletes make their way over towards both Alan Joyner and Brady Greer. There's Dylan Martin behind. Giving a little encouragement. They're both in their final quarter mile. And earlier, talking about the time difference from 2014 to this event this year, as we were noticing the top times for Sigurdur Thrusterson was 35:25, that event record, about 2.5 minutes slower than what we saw in the event winner Rob Forte in 2014. Here, we're seeing about 5 minutes the difference from Forte's time to Totora, who took this heat. That's a significant difference, all because of one change in this event.
The assault runner just makes this thing so much more unpleasant.
19th finisher out of 20. The Alan Joyner out of CrossFit Believe. So the 10th seed out of the North Central region. Finish ahead of Greer, who will find himself the last man standing on the assault runner. He'll be close himself, though, to finishing.
Song is very fitting. DJ's got a good sense of humor.
Greer, the 12th seed out of North Central, competing out of Illinois. Former college baseball player out of Southwest Baptist University. At this point, knows he's unofficially relegated to a last place finish, as we had everybody in heat number 1 already in at this time.
I want to have a happy stroke after this. I don't want to solve.
There's still that component of still give it all you got. That's part of this sport. That's what we've seen for years.
Yeah, the struggle is part of it. There's nothing you can do about that. There's always going to be an event here and there that is just not going to go the way that you want it to, even if you have the best plan in the world. It just doesn't, sometimes it doesn't come together, but you still got to fight the fight.
Judge's hand up, so we're near the end of the line in this event for Brady Greer, one of the heaviest athletes in the field as well, 210 pounds. Kind of puts a little bit more impressiveness to what Totora and Anderson did, both over 200 pounds themselves. Not necessarily a big guy event. But Greer in the final few strides. And at the 48-minute mark, he'll make his way across the floor and put the finishing touches on men's event number 1. But here in heat number 2, it won't be enough for an event win, but it's a heat win and what looks to be a 3rd place finish for that man, Joseph Totora, starting his weekend with his first career top 5.
Early we saw Zach Bunt come out to an early lead on the rower. Went really strong through the double unders, and on the treadmill led for 90% of the run. But it was Joseph Totora who caught him with about 600 meters left and then opened up his stride in the last minute or so and just absolutely blew everyone away, crossing the finish line first with that nice run across.
And we won't say it was easy to get across that line. Nothing about this event is easy, but he will take the win in impressive fashion with that charge late once he got onto the assault runner. But it's from heat number 1, first and second, Drew Wayman and Luke Shaefer 3 seconds apart in what was almost a foot race to the line. They take the top 2, Joseph Totora third, Alex Anderson fourth, Marshal Creed rounding out the top 5, Matt Fraser, the 2-time fittest man on earth, in 9th, and your nearly co-regional champions last year, Paul Castillo and Street Horner, 6th and 7th. They continue to stick next to each other with the women's opening event next.